Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm here. So I'm just laughing because I've just had a message come in from a friend that's just said, an emergency baking message. Do you have any fondant? Thank you, Kate. Like I have, why would I have fondant? I don't even know what fondant is. That's taken me on a totally different tangent. So that's me distracted then. Okay, here I am doing a live, and I cannot remember what the title was, of course, but I do know what I'm talking about, so that's good. So, weigh it up. What was I going to be talking about? Do put it in the notes if you can remember what it was that I was meant to be talking about. I do know that the first point was the reasons why that we burn out are not always what we think they are. And as you know, or you may not know if you're new to the group, that I experienced my own massive burnout in 2018 and had to kind of rethink about how I do life. And in doing so, I learned lots of hints and tips. Some of them I knew already that I just wasn't doing, and you will too know many things that you can do that you're not doing that maybe you ought to be doing. And part of this is kind of looking at how self-compassion plays a part in all of this, and it plays a huge part. So many of the times that I see people who are burnt out or burning out or worried that they may be burning out, it's because they're pushing themselves, and they're pushing themselves harder and harder and faster, trying to do all the things, trying to juggle all the balls, spin all the plates, do all the stuff, be superheroes without, if you ask them, they wouldn't say they're trying to be a superhero. They would say they're just literally trying to keep their head above the water. And the thing is that what I've learned is that it's not that pushing hard on the practical stuff that burns us out. It's not, taking kids here, there and everywhere and all of the stuff that we have to do on top of the work and the demands and the projects and the that we could list. It's not that. Actually, it is the lack of self-compassion. So it's the lack of care for ourselves that will have us burn out. And I think that's the key message really that I am trying to spread, is that we need to be kinder to ourselves, and we need to make that the norm, because actually it's everything. Now, the thing is that we've been having all this messaging for that our whole entire lives about looking after everybody else. And that's it, isn't it? So we're a good person if we think about everyone else first before we think about ourselves. That makes us a good person, a nice person. All of that feedback that we get from the world around us is when we look after everyone else, then, we are somebody. But actually, and you'll know this, it's the old put the what's the thing? Put the mask on your face first, the oxygen mask on your face first before you can help anyone else. And you'll probably hear yourself say that to friends, but are you doing it? So today I just very briefly, because these are never long, because I never want to take up, I know your time is really precious, but I just want to outline something that I outlined in my women's group this week, my Wild Women group. And I did a big long presentation. You have the joy that this isn't big and long, but I am going to get the points across. That self-compassion has 3 elements. These are the 3 doors that I talk about that we can choose to go through. And the first door is self-kindness. The second door is common humanity. And the third door is mindfulness. And if we practice all of those things, we won't burn out. If we practice just one of those things, then the likeliness of us burning out is going to be far less. So self-kindness actually is really easy for us as humans, as mammals. So all mammals tend for their young, because if we didn't, they don't survive. We don't have a baby and it comes out and then it just toddles off and walks off. There are some species that do that are just literally in utero and they come out and then they're fine. But our babies aren't. So we are designed, say designed, but we are in nature, we are hardwired to look after our young. We know how to do tending better than anything. So we know this stuff. So just remember that we know that. So this whole tend and befriend system is part of our biology, right? So there are all sorts of things that happen within us to enable us to do that. So you'll know when you're stressed, you have massive amounts of cortisol in your body. And this cortisol in short term can be really good to get stuff done, to get that project finished by the end of the day, or to run out of the way of the car that's about to run us over. Cortisol's great. But when we have a lot of cortisol all of the time, that's chronic, and that's chronic stress. That's what I was living with. And I didn't know. I thought, oh, I'm hyper alert. I'm getting a lot of stuff done. For a long, long time, that's going to cause us some real problems. And actually, when that cortisol is high and sustained, it affects our neurotransmitters. So actually the chemicals in our brain is affected, which means that we can't experience pleasure. We don't have the ability to do that. So using this tend and befriend method, it's not even a method, this whole system that our human bodies are hardwired to do, is everything. This mammalian way of looking after others is why we're drawn to look after others, but we can use it on ourselves. And what happens with tend and befriend is it's all about the oxytocin, and oxytocin is amazing. And when we flood our bodies with oxytocin, we feel amazing. It's the chemical that's released when we're breastfeeding. You know, it is the absolute feeling of love and adoration and joy that happens. And the key thing is that we can make this happen for ourselves. I've got to share this with you. So we can do this. Oxytocin is fired when we hug somebody. Oxytocin is fired when we cuddle our dogs, or actually when we hug ourselves. Now, this may sound absolutely crazy, but if you need a flood of oxytocin, you can just give yourself a hug. It's literally holding your arms and giving them a rub. And if you do that for 1 minute, you will feel a chemical change in your body. So at any point that you're stressed, you can turn that tend and befriend onto yourself. So again, definitely give it a go. And if you've got teenagers who don't want to be hugged, hug them. Hug them loads and hold on to them and tell them you're going to hug them for a whole minute, and it'll feel really uncomfortable. And then you'll feel their body go as the oxytocin hits. We can use this stuff. This is it's better than any medication, and we can do it. We can do it now. We can do it in a minute. Do it now. Do it right now. I'm getting excited. So this is the tend and befriend. This is about the self-kindness. This first door that we're going to go through is, how can I actually just care for myself right now? How can I look after myself? It doesn't need to be for a long time. It can just be 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, a 1 minute hug. I want you to notice that voice that follows us around, that says stuff to us, and we don't even notice it very often. So one of the things that I always ask my clients to do is to think about the last time that they dropped something, a plate, a glass, and it smashed. What were the words? Because I know that my words are not very nice. I do that sort of thing. So it might be a swear word. It might be, you pillock, or whatever. I don't know. But just notice what that is. Noticing that negative voice is the first thing to even notice it's there. Some people don't even know it's there, but it's internally happening all the time. And then it is about softening it. So by softening it, we don't argue with it. It's very common for us to think, if this negative voice is going, nah, then we're going to tell it to shut up and be quiet and swear at it. All we've got then going on in our head is this crazy argumentative angriness, and we don't need it. So we soften it, because actually that voice is always coming from a place of trying to keep you safe. That's what it's doing. It's going, oh, what you're about to do is really scary, or, oh my God, you've just risked everything. No one's going to love you, all of that stuff. So we have to acknowledge that and say to that voice, I acknowledge that you're trying to keep me safe, and that's lovely, but pipe down now. Give it a bit of quiet. And I've got a few techniques to be able to quieten that voice as well. So, you know, do ask me about it, because I've got some crazy magic stuff that works. But really being kind to yourself, being kind to that voice, and then reframing as well. So the observations that the voice have made, which are, and I gave this example in my women's group, is if I eat a packet of biscuits, that voice is going to say, you know, oh my God, you fat bitch, you know, you've just eaten a whole thing of biscuits. Woo. So how do I soften that? Well, what I do is I say, okay, so where is that coming from? That's coming from a place of keeping me safe, you know. So I'm going to be nice. And I'm going to say, okay, what would I actually say to myself if I was my best friend? I'd say, hey, you've had a really crappy week. I can really understand why you've eaten a packet of biscuits. I would have done the same. But, you know, you feel really crappy now. So, hey, why don't we go out for a walk or a little run or something that might make you feel better? That lovely, gentle voice that we can start to make happen in our mind rather than this horrible voice. We can do it. It just takes practice. And we need to be thinking about, how would I speak to my best friend right now? And use that voice. And use it again and again and again and again until it becomes a habit. Okay, let's move on now to common humanity. And this is where we think, okay, I'm not the only one in this world feeling like this right now. I'm not actually on my own. There are many other people who are feeling this way. So if I feel ashamed, shame is horrific. It's a horrible feeling to feel, and it's one that I've wallowed in a lot of my life. But if I feel ashamed, if I feel inadequate, if I feel disappointed in myself, or I feel that I've disappointed others, I'm not on my own. There are so many people out there that are feeling the same way. And I think the work that I'm doing more so at the moment, as I turn up completely as me, you know, there are no mirrors or smoke and mirrors going on. This is just me. You know, I'm fed up. I am done with turning up as someone else or trying to be this professional whatever. This is me. This is what you get now. And what I've realized is that the more that I've done that, is the messaging that I get back is, I see you and I feel the same. I feel that. I feel inadequate sometimes. I feel like I disappoint people. I feel like I am a disappointment, or I'm disappointing. But we don't feel like it all the time. And actually, when we connect with other people and we understand that there are others feeling the same way, it feels so much better. So there's a Tara Brach quote, that's a new word, a quote. And she says, feeling unworthy goes hand in hand with feeling separate from others and separate from life. If we are defective, how can we possibly belong? It seems like a vicious circle. The more deficient we feel, the more separate and vulnerable we feel. And that is so true, right? We have to reach out and we have to know that we are part of something far bigger than just one of us. There are many of us. So that's how you bring in common humanity. And then finally, it's mindfulness. It's about knowing that pain is inevitable. It's inevitable in life that we are going to feel pain. We are hardwired to run away from pain. Of course we are. If we stub our toe, or if we, hurt ourselves, we want to get rid of the pain. We want to rub it. We want to move away from it as far quickly as we possibly can. But actually, with emotional pain, we have to stay in it for a minute. We have to acknowledge that it hurts. And it's all right to sit in the corner and weep. I've had a shit week this week, if I'm honest. I've done some crying. And it's really important that I do. It's no good for me to go, I'm just going to carry on, regardless, as if it wasn't going on, because it is going on. And I have to acknowledge it, and I have to sit in those feelings for a bit. As uncomfortable as that is the only way that I'm going to process and get through it. So I need to be mindful of the way that I'm feeling. Yeah, and because what often happens is, and this is a key point, is that when we're in pain, we move very quickly into problem-solving mode. And you'll see this, you'll see it with your friends if you can't see it in yourself yet. but you will see how it's like all this stuff has happened. It's really difficult. It's okay. I've got myself a job. I'm going to sort it out. Make a nice cup of tea, you know, do all this stuff. Keep yourself busy. That is the shit that will burn you out. That's it. So this is really about being really, really honest about how we're feeling, and you know, you don't have to do it on your own, and you can bring in friends and people who love you. I've had some great conversations with friends this week, knowing that you can just reach out and go, oh, I'm feeling really crappy, and know that at the end of that phone call that you can feel a whole lot better. And not because they're cheering you up, but because you're allowing yourself to really understand that pain. So it's a heavy one this week, isn't it? So 3 doors, let me recap on the 3 doors, are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. And I could speak for hours on all 3 of those, but I won't, because I'm really mindful of your time. If you want to, I have a download which I can share with you, which is a prompt for journaling on these 3 doors. So if you want to, just at the end of your day, think, okay, what happened? What happened for these 3 days? Not 3 days. I don't know where I'm going with that. For this day, for this very day here, not 3 of them, and just write what you struggled with, and be really honest and clear it through, rather than just kind of shutting the door and getting on with your evening, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day, because that's when it builds, and that's when we're at risk. So I hope that was helpful, and it's been lovely to see that I've got some livers. So Siobhan, Margot, and Gary and Sarah. It's lovely to see you. If you're watching this as a replay, do put hashtag if you like, or hashtag replay in the comments. What that does, it helps me to know that people are watching and are wanting the stuff. So thank you, Margot. See you next time. Bye-bye.